What is going on, people of YouTube? Welcome to this additional bonus video from the FPL family, where we are taking a look at 6 of the Premier League's 6 of the FPL new boys. And we don't mean if it's a transfer from a different Premier League club to another Premier League club. These are brand new to the Premier League. So we're going to be looking at 6 different new boys from the Premier League that have come in this season. So Sam, we're going to start off with the new boy at Arsenal coming into the game very, very recently at 9.5 million.
Ouch.
9.5 million for Nicolas Pepe at Arsenal. I, for one, if I was a Gunners fan, I'd be excited about this guy. What do you think he can bring to the Premier League?
Well, there's high expectations, certainly amongst the Arsenal community that I'm following on Instagram.
Massive money for Arsenal. 72 million he signed for.
Huge.
That is the 4th, I think I've written in my notes here, the 4th most expensive signing in Premier League history. Can you name the other 3?
Wowzers.
Can you name the other 3?
Ooh,
Good test.
Van Dijk.
Van Dijk is 1. Pogba is another.
Oh.
And for the sake of time, we're going to say Lukaku. Those are the other 3. But Pepe, coming in, 24 years old, the 4th most expensive signing in Premier League history. 22 goals last season. Only second to Mbappe in La Liga. Now, not La Liga, in Liga 1 in France. Now, we know when French players play in Liga 1 and they come over to the Premier League, that is a significant step up. Do you think that he can make it?
Yes, I'm going to go with yeah. I think there is definite potential there, but having looked at, and we'll talk about this in a minute, but having looked at his involvement in the African Cup of Nations this summer.
He was a bit average in the ACON, wasn't he?
Not a lot to discuss there, really.
Okay, all right.
So, yeah, I mean, I hope so. I mean, it's a lot of money, although they've only paid about 20p up front for him. So, I mean, maybe they've got a returns policy. Let's see. I mean, I hope so. I think alongside Aubameyang and Lacazette, that could be very explosive at Arsenal, couldn't it? Although they still can't defend. So.
Well, I think this is fundamentally the issue with Arsenal. They're going to have so many options going forward now that the teams are going to be able to cut through that defence no problem. But Arsenal maybe are going to go in with the mentality of, we're going to score one more than you. And I guess if Pepe's coming in at a 9.5 million midfielder, you haven't got to take up one of those 3 precious forward spots. Maybe he's worthy of consideration, but 9.5 is a lot of cash to go for what is effectively a bit of a punt on a new boy, right?
For sure. When you know, in that same price bracket, you've obviously got the likes of Eriksen and KDB, people that have got pedigree and history in the Premier League, and we know as FPL assets can perform for you. So it would be a bit of a risk to take.
You're right. Pepe and KDB, the same price. If you had to choose one right now,
KDB all day long.
I think you'd go with the surety of KDB, wouldn't you? All
sure.
right. Well, let's move to the other half of North London. Let's talk about the Spurs new boy, Ndombele. 6 million in the game. Has already proved in pre-season that he can actually get box to box, and I think has got an assist with his first touch, if I remember, in one of the games in the Audi Cup. So at 6 million, do we expect him to be a bit more of a deep-lying centre defensive midfielder, or are we expecting box-to-box and assists and stuff? What are we expecting from this guy?
No, we're expecting, well, as a Spurs fan, we're expecting mostly defensive assurity in the midfield and that kind of holding line in front of the defence. I think he will go forward at times, depending upon who he's partnered alongside. So if it's Sissoko or if it's Harry Winks, depending upon which one of the 2 of them it is, we might see a little bit of change in his position, but most off it's defensive. So I don't necessarily think that he'll be a hugely popular FPL asset.
No.
But if we see a good start to the season like we did in that friendly against, I can't even remember who it was against now, but when he assisted Lucas Moura,
I think he just got a bit overexcited. It's his first game. He kind of thought,
he was like,
get
forward. I'm going
forward.
to go and impress. I mean, it's interesting when you talk to Spurs fans, you talk to the Spurs community, everyone's very excited about it. One thing, as a word of caution, if you're thinking about him in fantasy teams, there was some really nice quotes from Ledley King talking about how brilliant he can be, but also urging a bit of caution. I think we can kind of link this back to Pepe as well, in terms of it's a big change. It's a big change, like you were saying before, coming in from the French League into the Premier League.
Yeah.
And I think Ledley said, my phone's just clicked off. Hang on.
Come on, get your notes.
He said, it will take time for him to adjust to the game and to Pochettino's intensity and the demands asked from him from all the players.
Yeah, sure.
So I just think we just need to be a little bit careful. He also missed the Audi Cup final. Okay. Wasn't in the squad.
65 appearances for Lyon, I've written. No goals. No goals, guys. So I think from an FPL perspective, I think for me, it's going to be interesting to see what effect he has on the rest of the team.
Yeah,
I don't think Ndombele is going to be massive in FPL, but I think once you've got a bit of a feel in that first Villa game in game week 1 as to the effect that he can have on the team, if indeed he does start in that game and play in that game, and Pochettino doesn't do what Pochettino likes to do, which is to ease these players in, right?
Yeah.
I get the feeling he's going to be a really, really good player for Spurs and make other Spurs FPL assets like Kane, like Dele Alli, like Lucas Moura and Lamela, and all those attacking talents that you've got. He's going to be the assurance that those guys need to be able to go and attack with the flair that they want to attack with.
And will also enable the defenders to be better FPL choices too.
I think you're right. Okay, let's move to... we're staying in London. A lot of these new boys in London. Let's go to Christian Pulisic at Chelsea. 7.5 million. He is Chelsea's most expensive player in the game at 7.5 million, which has been many years, Sam, since we've been able to say that about a Chelsea asset. Chelsea assets usually in the sort of... or at least one of them in the 9-10s, or if you've got Hazard, of course, in the sort of 11s and maybe even 12s. But Pulisic coming at 7.5 million. Now, what did I write down about Pulisic? I think he's had a really, really good pre-season. He's coming in, the Chelsea fans are expecting him to fill the Hazard gap, although I think he himself has come out and said he doesn't feel any pressure to fill the Hazard gap. So
of course he's going to say that.
What do you make of that mentality?
He's not going to say, I'm scared about being the new Hazard, is he?
No, I know, but only 20 years old, right? Maybe his comments are just youthful enthusiasm and naivety, potentially, I don't know. But he's come in from Bundesliga for Dortmund, having scored 13 goals in 90 games in the Bundesliga for Dortmund. Already bigging up in the press his relationship with Ross Barkley and some of the other players. So doesn't feel like he's taken any time to settle in there. Feels like he's going to hit the ground running, Pulisic.
Yeah, did well versus Salzburg the other night, scored 2 goals, and like you say, did hype up his partnership with Barkley. In fact, he said, and I quote, "It was perfect."
I love your quotes.
It was perfect. I kind of received the ball with my face, but it was good. We had a good connection. I made the run.
Whoa. Kind of received the ball with his face.
That's what he said.
Right.
But it was good, and we had a good connection. I made the run and thought, please make the pass, and he did. It was perfect.
So they've already got a bit of a thing going on, him and Barkley. Okay,
for sure they do. So I think for me he seems to be adjusting really well to, obviously we can't say the Premier League yet, but to Chelsea and to the Chelsea way of playing. He seems to have slotted in nicely there. Interestingly, in the game today, he did make way for Barkley. Barkley started on the bench.
We should point out that we're recording this on Sunday, so when you say the game today, we're recording it on Saturday. What day is it today?
Saturday.
So the game today, Saturday.
Yeah.
How did he get on in that?
So he actually didn't do anything in the game today in terms of no goals, no assists. But as I say, we're subbed off on, I think, about 67 minutes for Barkley, who came on and scored a penalty. So I think what we're seeing with Pulisic is a good fantasy asset in his own right. I think it's a little bit tough sometimes to pick him at 7.5 because he is unknown to the game. When you've got the likes of Barkley and also Ryan Fraser in that 7.5 category.
Yeah, Barkley's a bit cheaper, isn't he, at 6? But Fraser's 7.5, more at 7.5. So
there is FPL pedigree in that price point. But I do think Pulisic, for me, is looking like he could be the real deal.
I think he could be worth a punt. Manchester United away in the first game week. I genuinely can't call that game. We were going to do our game week 1 preview live stream on Sunday at 8 p.m. Well, we will have done it. By the time this video goes out, we will have done it. So go back and watch that video, guys, our game week 1 preview. And during that live stream, I'm going to be talking about we're going to be discussing what we think is going to happen in Manchester United versus Chelsea in game week 1. I find it very, very difficult to call. I mean, Chelsea are having a pretty good pre-season, but United as well, doing pretty well in sort of pre-season and scoring some goals.
United looking much improved.
Very difficult to call. Pulisic, 20 years old, like I say, £58 million transfer fee. It's a hell of a lot of money, but the stats, the pure goal stats don't scream prolific to me. 13 in 90, as I said, for Dortmund before in the Bundesliga. 13 in 30 for the USA, though. So coming up to 1 every other game for the USA, which you got to think would be, the US have got a pretty good international team, better than they used to have, frankly. They have come on leaps and bounds recently.
Although not as good as their women's team.
Not as good as their women's team, potentially. But 13 and 30 for the USA at an international level is not to be sniffed at for Christian Pulisic. So at 7.5, I think he could be worth a punt, guys. Man United away, Leicester at home, Norwich away, Sheffield United at home, Wolves away. So tough looking set of opening fixtures, but of all the guys that we're going to talk about today, Pulisic, definitely one you should keep your eyes on, guys. 7.5 million. Let's go to Manchester United then. We talked about the fact that they're having a pretty good pre-season. Daniel James coming in at 6 million in the game. Absolutely, I've put in my notes here, rapid. Sam.
And I've written very quick.
Very quick, rapid. The guy is absolutely faster than fast. 4 league goals in 33 for Swansea last season. But again, he's going to fit the new Ole Gunnar Solskjaer mentality at Manchester United, isn't he? I mean, Solskjaer, we've already seen in pre-season. We saw evidence of it last season, the fact they want to win that ball. They want to get on that counter-attack quickly. And the sort of players that they're employing now, the likes of Rashford, the likes of Martial, and with Daniel James coming in too, these are quick players. You've got to think that Solskjaer's going to be putting pace at the centre of what he does. But do you think Daniel James is going to be a starter for Manchester United?
I do, yeah.
You do?
And
okay.
I think having watched him play against Spurs during the Asia Tour, the game that they beat us 2-1 fairly near the end of the match, he was really good in that game, played really well, particularly in the first half. It was certainly a game of two halves, that game, but Man United came out of the blocks in the first half and he was really integral to that, to be honest. He was, as you say, absolutely rapid, but also had a real eye for where his teammates were, played in a beautiful ball to Martial, who quite frankly should have done better, hit the post. And I think for me, that it kind of smacks of a player that's come in with the right attitude, with the right kind of momentum, with the right drive to get involved with his teammates as well. And he seems to have formed some nice partnerships already. I've got another quote for you. This one's from Ole.
I love a quote. Go on.
So Ole Gunnar Solskjaer come out and he said, Dan can play across the front line.
Dan, he's already calling him Dan.
Yeah.
There we go, he's already in.
Dan the man, I think. Dan. Obviously more right or left wing, but he can play through the middle as well. And now for me, that was an interesting comment, given the saga that's going on with Lukaku in the background. And if Lukaku goes, which, as we've said before,
looks likely,
was left out of the team for the Saturday night game, then we could see an opportunity there where we might see James playing as a striker. I think majority of his time will be spent on the wing, but it could happen.
Could he be that number 10 behind Rashford?
Yeah,
maybe?
Potentially. He plays. That's what this is what
maybe.
Solskjaer's saying. I think he's more suited to being out on the wings, but he can play through the centre as well. And as an FPL asset, isn't that exactly what you want? Somebody who can be moved around in the team like that, because actually that means they're less likely to be rotated out the team if they've got a flexibility of positions.
Equally, he could be a utility player that comes on in wherever position they need him and starts on the bench. So I think there's pros and cons of that. I must admit, he's older than I thought. I thought they'd bought a really, really young player. He's actually 21.
And he looked really young when he was standing. Did you see him in the line with the mascots?
Great tweet. And to be fair, that for me shows that he's not afraid to
make fun of himself.
He's not taking himself too seriously.
Yeah.
And for me, that shows that he's not feeling the pressure. And let's face it, if you're going to feel pressure anywhere, it's one of the world's biggest clubs, Manchester United. So that to be fair to Daniel James, feels as if he's again just sort of seamlessly got involved with the squad. So absolutely worth a shot.
I guess it helps that he's coming out of. I know it's Welsh, but the English game, the British game. I guess it helps that he's playing in the country. There's no language barriers or new,
Sure, big step up from Swansea then. Big step up.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? It's not the same as coming out of the French league or moving countries or what have you.
Absolutely. Let's see how he gets on. Let's move to the South Coast and talk about Che Adams, also 6 million in the game from Southampton. Now, again, we've talked about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We've talked about his new, or at least the mentality that we saw last season about the high press and the counter-attack, or certainly the wanting to win the ball back and really get rapidly on that counter-attack. I think we're going to see the same from Southampton, by the way. I think Hasenhüttl showed enough last year. Some of it was a bit of a salvage operation to keep them up, wasn't it? But in the flashes that we did see of Hasenhüttl's style, it reminded me a little bit of Klopp's Liverpool and the Gegenpressing. He wants them to press high, hit on the counter-attack. But for that, you need energy, dynamism and pace. Well, this guy, Che Adams, coming in at 6.0 million, Sam, seems to have it in abundance. Now, 16th last year, Saints, like I say, which was mainly a bit of a salvage job. Do you think that the Saints can go better this year? And how big a part do you think Che Adams is going to play?
Yes, I think they'll go better. I think they have looked... When you watch the pre-season games, and I know sometimes pre-season isn't that reflective of what we're going to see in the Premier League, because obviously it's a different quality of opposition that you're playing against, usually in pre-season. But Southampton have looked really good, and they've played really well. And actually, what you were just saying about the way that Southampton played at the end of last season with this attacking motion is exactly what we've seen in pre-season. So Che Adams has been involved in goals within the first 6 minutes of every game he's played for Southampton so far.
Has he really?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's out the blocks quick, as are Southampton.
So he scored after 6 minutes when they won 3-1 against Feyenoord. Which was his third goal of the pre-season. He scored his first goal for the Saints against Altrincham after 2 minutes.
Okay. Wow.
And he scored he scored again, but he also assisted Danny Ings winning a penalty within 6 minutes against Cologne. And then he assisted Højbjerg in the same game. With a lovely 1-2.
I love how you pronounce Højbjerg.
Well, how do you pronounce it?
I don't know, genuinely. There's a J and a B in there somewhere. I guess.
Højbjerg.
Højbjerg?
Well, I don't know, but I'm going with Højbjerg.
Højbjerg.
Why not?
With a sharp J.
I will pronounce every single letter that is in his name. He assisted him as well today. For me, this kid, and I've got to be honest here, he had completely gone under my radar until you said, we're going to talk about this Adams kid from Southampton. And I was what? And I went away and I read about how he's been playing pre-season. My goodness. And then I watched some of the footage of him playing pre-season and the goals that he scored and the assists he's been laying off. The kid has got serious talent and he's got serious vision too.
I think he could be really good. And at the minute, I'm working on I'm not sure of my formation right now. We will have discussed that in the Game Week 1 live stream. So again, go back and watch that video, guys. But in terms of my formation going into Game Week 1, I don't know whether it's going to be heavy at the back or heavy in midfield. But one thing's for sure, I'm pretty sure that it will be light up top. I was planning to do 2 strikers and just burn that third striker spot. And I'll have a 4.5, someone like Mason Greenwood in there. But if I can squeeze 1 point, I don't know, squeezing 1.5 is a big deal.
It is.
But I'd really like to have a little look at Che Adams at 6 million. I think he could be excellent value for that third striker spot. Of course, you've got to find $1.5 million somewhere, but given the way that Everton are defending right now, I could take $1.5 million out of Digne and put it into Che Adams. I think it could be on, guys. Could be on. The last new boy we want to talk about, Sam, is West Ham's new striker, Sebastian Haller. 7.5 million in the game. So not exactly cheap, coming in a bit more expensive than even Arnautovic was last season. But with the creativity around Haller, and I've spoken to a few West Ham fans, listened to a few West Ham pods, the feel about Haller is that he needs that creativity and those runners around him. If he gets isolated up top by himself, he looks a bit disinterested and he kind of floats in and out of the game. But surely, with the likes of Yarmolenko and Lanzini and Antonio and Felipe Anderson, he's got the players around him that he needs to be effective and successful, right? 7.5 million, Sebastian Haller.
Yeah, I mean, he scored for West Ham already during pre-season. So he scored his first goal against Hertha Berlin. It was a headed goal, if anyone's interested in how he scored it. In the game that they won 5-3. He also assisted Fornell's goal in that game, another one who's
Fornell's,
really,
of course, another good new guy,
good pre-season. I think, unfortunately for him, so they played again today against Athletic Bilbao. He did score a rather unlucky own goal in that game, but just that he was back defending, right? So at least he was back helping out. I think for me, actually, what I've noticed really is that he has become the real target man, and what we're seeing is the likes of Yarmolenko, particularly Lanzini, who's now got 3 and 3, all kind of focused on Haller. Now, if they can sustain that, I think Haller becomes a really nice option. Do
you think that he's the one, though, that kind of receives the ball and holds it up in a sort of, sorry to do this comparison, but in a sort of Heskey or Crouch sort of way? Probably could say Firmino would be a better option. That kind of like hold it up sort of play and and it actually benefits the others. Or at 7.5 million, maybe a player that does a lot of that and gets a lot of assists and a lot of bonus BPS as a result of that, but also gets the odd goal.
Yeah,
you're kind of happy with 7.5 million, aren't you?
I think he will. I think there will be some holding up of the ball while the others catch up. But I think what we see at West Ham, with the likes of Yarmolenko, Lanzini, Felipe Anderson and now Fornells, who, however they're going to play all of those players, is that they are players that have got pace. So there isn't so much holding up necessary. So I think they are using him in a proper target man type way. Okay. But he does also seem to be helping out with the others as well. there hasn't been that many assists from him so far, just the one in pre-season. So it doesn't suggest that he's holding it and then laying it off to whoever scores the goals.
Okay, well, watch this space. Sebastian Haller, 7.5, 91 goals in his career across 230 games in all competitions. Has been around some, played in France for Auxerre, Utrecht, has played for FC Utrecht, so has played in Holland, and has played in Germany for Frankfurt as well. So he's got a bit of a feel for all the different leagues. He's now coming to the Premier League. This is going to be a big test for the new West Ham man. So there we go. Those are our 6 players. Pepe and Ndombele, Pulisic, Daniel James, Adams and Haller. We've got to keep our eye open for all of these guys in game week 1. Who knows how they're going to adapt to the Premier League, but hopefully this video has given you a bit of insight into how we think they're going to do. Thank you for joining, guys. If you're new around here, hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the little notify bell as well. We will be going live with FPL Family live streams every single Sunday evening, 8 PM, after all the FPL action is finished. Go follow us on Twitter at FPL Family, Instagram at FPL Family, and we will see you very, very soon, guys. Thanks for joining.
Take care.